Hey guys, welcome back to the 10-8 Fightcast. Trevor and Dylan here, and today we're going to be talking about all of the action at UFC 279, and we're also going to be previewing this weekend's fight card. We're also going to be talking about Global Legion in Rock Hill, South Carolina this past weekend. Trevor, you attended that show, and it was the first show in a while where you just got to be a fan in the audience.
People were shocked. Taylor was like, "What are you doing here?" And I was like, "Sitting down." And she was like, "Fuck." And I was like, "I don't know, man. Like, your boy just, when he gets the chance to sit down and watch fights, I'm going to do it."
It worked out.
Felt so good. And it was after I taught a seminar in the morning at Form Fitness. It is 4M online, but it is for Form Fitness. An amazing facility. Like, that place is just
humongous,
fucking amazing.
Humongous, top of the line equipment.
It is the best combat gym in the Carolinas, like head to toe. As far as like what the space is, the conditioning space, a yoga room, showers, sauna, full ring, micro cage, amazing bag cage, lots of mat space, and quality instruction too. You know, Matt Fleming is like the head instructor for kickboxing and MMA. Davis Fleming, his dad, runs the jiu-jitsu. They have like a lot of like other traditional martial arts in there. Like Dick Harrell, who's a long time have you heard of him? Really old school Muay Thai guy. He's like the original Muay Thai guy in Charlotte.
What did you teach over there?
I taught just a Muay Thai seminar. It was a focus on low kicks, using our hands to help us throw low kicks. Like in MMA, a lot of people see it's a different type of striking compared to striking for striking instead of striking for punch kick grapple. Like, it's two separate things. Where one thing I like to cover in my Muay Thai was using our hands to help set up our low kicks, because it gives us options of interrupting combinations, allows us to work into clinch entries offline. It kind of allows, we were talking earlier about, the offense has to have a defense, the defense has to have an offense. When you're doing Muay Thai, I'm one of those guys, I like to have both options at the same time. Right. I go down some weird fucking rabbit holes. But that's just how I have to do it, But yeah, it was a great time. I've been working with Matt Fleming, since he moved up here, 6-7 years now, I think. We've always gone back and forth. Really good guy, and it feels good to get back in that swing of teaching seminars. I went at Revolution not too long ago, and it keeps my brain just roll. Today in class, I was like, we're all doing drilling at the end of pad work.
It was way before you started Hometown. Your last one that you taught, I remember. You went to Rogue Combat Club a while ago, or was that?
Not too long ago. That's a couple years ago now.
It's crazy.
But no, I've done a lot of seminars, other Team Rock schools and stuff like that. Wilmington a lot, Myrtle Beach. I'll go and do seminars. Virginia. I just fucking love coaching.
If you're listening to the show and you want to book a Muay Thai seminar,
hey, or come up.
Is available.
I get surprised when we're starting to hear people at shows go, "Hey, I love listening to your show," and I'm like, "You want to come up and train with us now?" Is kind of what it's getting to be now. So hey guys, come kick it, or we'll roll with us now.
Yeah,
at Hometown Martial Arts.
You can roll with us.
Yeah.
I was thinking that maybe we should add a grappling open mat after a couple weeks.
Oh, I'm so down. Yeah, I know Emmanuel Simpson's going to be in town soon.
Oh yeah,
and he's a good friend. Yeah, he comes through the show a lot.
I'd love to hear his anything that would be like Tom Ziegler instructed.
Check out the Push Effect podcast. That is his baby, and he's got Brian Battle on there, Taylor Starring.
Yeah,
a lot of local fighters on there from the Charlotte area. So good podcast.
He's got good cage work.
Great cage work.
So I'd love to hear his thoughts.
And you were saying he's from Carolina Combat Sports with Tom Ziegler.
Anything taught by Ziegler, I would want to learn.
They really showed out this weekend.
I so badly want to go to that Go Course seminar, but it's on the same day as Toro Cup, unfortunately. But they continue to impress. They had 3 or 4 fighters on there this weekend.
4 fighters. They went 3-1, and it was Caleb Harris. No.
Kendall Morris.
Caleb Harris.
Caleb Harris is the guy from Greensboro that fought Dalton twice.
Fuck, okay. I was like, wait, that's a person too,
that is
right?
a person.
Okay, so Kendall Morris.
There was a person named Caleb Harris.
You looked great this weekend. When I heard Kendall Morris fought Rampage Jackson Jr., by the way, which blew me the fuck away. I had no idea.
You didn't know that was happening before?
I had no idea.
Oh, okay.
I saw the last name and I was like, okay, Morris versus Jackson, whatever. And then you hear
Jackson?
Rampage Jr. and you're like, wait, what the fuck? And then there's Rampage Jackson walking out and I'm just like, what the
I don't
fuck?
know for sure, but Rampage may be affiliated in some kind of way with the promotion because Junior's only fought for Global Legion.
Yeah, well, they're originally out of Miami, and they've been all over, but from what I've heard, they might be making their home closer to South Carolina, because of how regularly they can do shows there, and they're starting to get people to come out from California, and like they had a lot of people.
So
they had fighters from. They had a lot of.
Just like
they had a lot of Florida and California-based fighters on this card.
Yeah,
I was like, whoa, cool.
Yeah.
Louisiana, like there was.
Jackson's last fight was at the same venue.
Yeah, yeah, wild.
He's a good kid. He looks like a good talent.
Man,
it's weird how he is kind of the same and also like completely different than his father in terms of fighting style.
Yeah, like he's got a.
He likes the grappling.
I can't remember if he's at welterweight or 85. Welterweight, I think.
He's a big welterweight.
Yeah, he's a thick welterweight. I mean, Kendall Morris is not a small welterweight either. Like I thought this was a middleweight fight.
He fought Zach Faulkner at welterweight.
Yeah, so it is. Yeah, they're. It was a great welterweight fight. Kendall Morris, very slick. He had great frames. Great instinct to get back up, but Rampage Jr. lives up to his dad's name and loves to slam. Like, I kind of got like, I recorded it and I was like, oh, I don't want to record this, but I do because like I love Carolina combat sports. But I was like, I wonder if something viral will happen. Like at the same time, you don't know. Like
because
he comes with that kind of pressure where he wants to make a highlight for himself.
Sure.
Like, when you have your father's highlights
and also,
to live under, then you need to make your own highlights get out of their shadow.
And also you're in some promotion in South Carolina, so you're hoping that you get a guy who you can make a highlight reel out of. But it goes both ways because if you're recording and Kendall Morris knocks out Rampage Jr.'s son, you want that to be recorded too, right?
Yes.
Like, it goes both ways, I think they could maybe step up their stream game a little bit. I did hop in the stream for a little bit.
I saw I think it cut out at one point.
Well, the commentary was Taylor Starling obviously was on commentary, and she does a great job.
There was some other guy.
A 13-year-old kid, I believe.
Oh, wait, really?
Honestly, to me it looked like a 13-year-old child, and it sounded like a 13-year-old child. Wow. Maybe this is like a Hasbulla situation, but I've tried to work with them before and tried to talk to them before, and they've kind of stonewalled me. So maybe I'll just DM Rampage and be like, "Look, Rampage, we need to talk. Yeah, let's talk, Rampage. I know you know who I need to talk to." But there were also Shamik Harvey fought on this, who I'm a big fan of.
Fight.
Oh, yeah,
I left like right after the co-main event where we were sitting at. Like we had great seats. But the entire night I was still wearing my sunglasses, and those lights were just beaming on my head after I taught the seminar. And so, like around the time the co-main was like starting, I was like, my eyeballs are throbbing like through my head. Oh. I was like, oh, this is starting to kick my ass. Like, so called it early. Yet I also did stop by a certain chicken wing establishment to catch the co-main and main event
of the UFC.
Yeah, I just needed to get away from those bright lights, man. Those things fucking hit, and they can just cut right through me. So, but no, I missed Shamik Harvey. I heard he won via split decision.
Yeah.
I missed that.
Looks like it was really close.
Very close. Yeah.
And Kevin Peraza picked up a finish.
Picked up a very dominant first round finish. Just went right to the single leg, to the takedown, and then good little back and forth. The guy that he faced was from Team Oxendine. Really tried to buck and get off, and he was giving a good fight back. But yeah, Kevin Peraza got the dominant ground and pound finish. They had the other fighter. Who was the other fighter they had?
On Ziggler's Instagram, it just mentions those three.
There was, or was it? Did they go 2-1?
Oh, was that Sam Klepik that he fought?
No, Sam didn't fight.
Oh, it's just that Peraza's opponent's last name is Klepik. That's what confused me.
I think it was supposed to be.
Oh.
Yeah, that was. There were some late replacements.
Oh. Okay.
Snyder didn't get to fight. Yeah, there were some last minute change arounds. Yeah. Oh, I will say this: the Holmes Shitamamba fight. That has a. I'm trying to get the video of that. That was Save of the Year by Sean Woods.
He grabbed him.
Caught the fighter mid-air.
Sean Woods is a great referee, by the way.
Great referee, great guy to sit down and talk to. Yeah, he had the catch of the year. The boxing was really fun to watch. It was a while since I've gotten to sit down.
Oxendine fought.
Oxendine fought. Yep. He and everyone's Nicholas Spaminato. Interesting boxing match. Both just kind of it just looked like,
former training partners.
That's right, former training partners. Oxendine just picked him apart the whole time. He really beat the shit this guy Nicholas, but he was really using face-to-fist technique.
He's already. He's always had good hand speed.
Yeah,
If you're talking about Josh Oxendine's MMA career, his hands were never the problem.
Yeah, like in this boxing match, he was very clean, very tight technique, but he definitely fought at an MMA striking pace and not like a high-volume boxing pace. But the other guy just had no answer for him the full time. And that's why when I was like, man, I know they used to be training partners, but he was trying to knock him the fuck out the whole time. The other guy, just his defense was face to fist, and there were a couple times like he clipped Oxendine on the chin, and like people in the crowd were yelling and calling him Rocky. I don't know if that's his actual nickname or that's just how he fought, because it looked kind of like a Rocky versus Clubber Lang kind of fight.
Usually when you get that. Usually when you get that nickname, it's because of the way you fight. So he might have had that beforehand, even if that wasn't the case.
Yeah.
That might just be how he gets down. Other than that, were there any fights that stuck out to you?
I mean, really, it was... Carolina Combat Sports, they looked sharp as attack. Did they have the pro one there? Well, Yeah, actually, kind of run through that really quick. The pro heavyweight fight... Sakulia versus Jones. Jones out of Atlantic MMA.
Fullwood.
Fullwood Jones. Yeah, Mark Cool. Yeah, thank you. I was like, you'll know his name. I'm trying to remember. Yeah.
Kuklia. Versus David Chuklaya.
Sorry. Yeah. Great fight. Chuklaya. It's a rematch.
Yeah.
And
Mark
Jones
broke his nose.
Won the first one. He got like an inside trip. And Kuchia just couldn't get him. How do you say his last name? You said
Chuklaya.
Sorry.
No. Well, I remember that fight vividly.
Yeah, it was for like B2 or something like that.
It was brutal. It was for Fight For It.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, it happened right before Thine Eyes. I was commentating with Tony Loco Soto.
Oh, okay.
That was when Tony Loco Soto got fired from Fight For It.
Oh, really?
I mean, from commentary, not fired, but that was the moment where he said a bunch of stuff on the mic where people were like,
the Triumphant Academy or something like that is what it is, out of South Carolina.
It used to be Indian Land MMA.
But now it's Triumphant Academy. And
what's that guy's name? That's the head coach.
I forgot. Like,
he's a cool guy.
I've cornered against. He is.
He's a cool guy.
And I remember cornering against him. He competed in a PKB with Roland forever and a fucking day ago, and I was like, oh shit, like I know that guy. Like,
he's also Dylan Nelson's coach.
Yeah, he is. He's a really good dude.
Yeah,
really
every time I've spoken to him, he seems like an awesome guy, but I've never asked for his name.
And Josh Murdoch was there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, apparently they're a Pedigo affiliate because of the Murdoch brothers, so they come out for their fight camps and like training weeks, and it's very sick. It was great to see Josh Murdoch. He cornered him that night.
I grew up about 20 minutes from Indian Land.
Oh yeah, that's right.
It's really fucking dope that there's something.
That was a really fun for MMA, like for like a live heavyweight fight that I've seen in a while. For an MMA fight at that level, it was fun. Both guys like very new to their pro career. Very fun fight. It was all over the place.
Yeah, Markel.
They both displayed great boxing.
In the first fight, it was over quick. Markel hit him with a 1-2 and cracked him with a 2 across the bridge of the nose and busted his nose open. And then Chuklaya fell back, butt down against the fence with his head there. And then Markel got the Luke Rockhold style Yoel Romero finish up against the cage wall. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, that was one of the craziest finishes. I think that's Markel's one of his best finishes in his amateur career. But now he's obviously pro. He's one of those guys that you look at him and you're just like, But then he starts fighting and you're like, oh damn, this guy's got hands.
Yeah,
and
he's got some hands.
He can move too.
He can, yeah.
And I'll say this:
it was a very fun, active heavyweight fight.
He's as fucking tough as they come because he
really
fought
is.
at Fight For It X. He fought TK Mattress, and it was one of the most brutal heavyweight fights I've seen live because. And most of the time when we watch a heavyweight fight, especially at the amateur level, when me and Trevor commentate these things, you're thinking about the fight either ending in the first 3 minutes, or it's probably going to be quite boring or quite uneventful. So you'll have a lot of time to fill with the commentary. But in that fight, Markel Jones versus TK Mattress, it is them going the entire time, and both of them are landing the entire time. And they both came out. I mean, TK was landing a lot more, but he just could not, for the longest time, put Markel away. And then finally, Markel got put away, never went down, kind of against the fence, just kind of was so focused on trying to get a shot back that he stopped defending himself. And I think it was Sean, actually, who stopped the fight, speaking of Sean Woods. But always been a big fan of Markel Fullwood Jones and of David Chuklaya, too, because David Chuklaya, I've seen him fight boxing. I've seen him fight kickboxing.
Yeah,
and now he's pro in MMA. And his body has changed a lot too. Like he used to be a bigger guy, more closer to Markel's frame and size.
Maybe that's why I didn't recognize him. But now these guys are both even, and it was and I sat with the Triumphant Academy crowd, and I have video that I'll share of them going absolutely off the fucking wall. And it was a great group of people to hang out with, like the coolest group of like gym people I've met, like huge group. And I was there with myself, Talia, Hunter, and Jillian.
Obviously,
Talia's dad was there, his first live fight.
That's
he had
true
a blast.
Too. He had a good time.
He had a blast. Yeah.
Sometimes you take people to a fight night and they just get it, even if they don't get it when they're watching TV.
Oh yeah, and he was asking like all these like beginner questions. It's like, who's that guy? Who's like asking about the cut man? But like it was cool because Global Legion, they supplied cut men for both sides.
Wow.
They have a great boxing following. Their cage setup, I was fascinated by it.
Yeah,
it's a square cage.
Right?
It's a square cage. And from when I was talking about, I was like, I think they pull off those posts, and they do. They take off the cage panel posts, and the boxing ring ropes come out, and they tie it off. And dude, they changed that bad boy around in like 20 minutes, less than that, between the boxing and MMA card.
Wow.
And let me keep going over some of these, man. Jacob Romano out of Pitch Black.
Yeah.
First time seeing him fight live. This kid's 1 or 2 fights from being on the Contender Series. He absolutely starched Tristan Mizrani, there you go, who, like, I've heard him around combat sports for a while. He came up from Fifth Street Gym in Miami, Florida, and Jacob Romano just went to fucking work on him from the get-go. Looks like a little Wonder Boy Jr., but with wrestling and jiu-jitsu. He hit some slick, like, attacks, like, I think he hit, like, a head and arm choke to, like, move him off the floor back to the feet. He was really in and out on his feet, found great shots. Put him away with elbows and ground and pound. Let's see. There was, Weston Wilson versus Marcus Andruzia. That fight was over pretty quick. That's a Pitch Black guy versus a dude from Marcus is like 9-20 in MMA.
Yeah.
And he took on a 13-7 Weston Wilson.
Weston Wilson, I've heard quite a bit about.
And he snatched up a guillotine within like under a minute. Let's see. Austin Coleman out of Next Level Academy, who I've never seen fight. But he had his second pro fight. He took on Luis Marquez, knocked him clean the fuck out. That was a great walk-off knockout. Great job to them. The boxing matches were a lot of fun. Drew Dwelly, who's a legit boxer, fought a debut who looked like a child.
Tomahawk fight on this one too?
That was Tomahawk. Drew Dwelly, yeah.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, so he's an 8-0-2 boxer, and he took on a debut, and that guy looked like a child. It was one of the most mismatched.
He also looked way bigger than him.
It looked like they were 4 weight classes apart. I was watching
that was like when I tuned into the stream.
There was like this even air of like uncomfortableness. Like when they came in the ring, and I was like, "Hey, y'all got to see this!"
Don't you love?
It was one of those like. So just that morning, while Talia was getting her oil changed, Jack Hanna was on the TV, and he's watching a bison get pulled in the river by an alligator, and he's watching it with his grandson, going, "See, son, this is the way of life." And I was like talking to Talia and her dad and Jillian, who have never seen like pro boxing matches, and I was like,
This is the way of pro boxing.
This is the circle of life in pro boxing, you know? And that's what's like, you might as well play like just the Jack Hanna theme song.
What's that shadowy area over there? That's the Showtime undercard.
Yeah, that is.
You must never go there.
Don't go there. Drew Dwelly, I've seen him face some pretty good competition. He's a legit boxer, but every boxer has a fight like this. And it was one of those fights.
Sometimes
and it's one of those things
have
like
9 or 6 or 9 or 10 or 11, 12 fights like that.
Yeah. But, I was like telling people, I was like, this happens all the time. Like, in jiu-jitsu, they call it the open class. Like,
yes.
This is that, but with boxing gloves.
Yeah.
Like, this is absolute. Like, it be that way sometimes.
Absolute matchmaking.
Ashley Ciente, the Charlotte Diva Queen, solid boxer. She came up short against Indea Smith, who was an absolute, 5'2", or 4'9", unit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she came out really strong. They had a great, I think it was a 4-round fight. But yeah, Ashley, she stayed behind her jab and cross. Very clean female boxer. But Indea Smith just came out with a little bit too much from the get-go and just kind of made Ashley use a little bit like not enough to keep her ahead of the card. So that was a very tight fight. Let's see, there were also... Yeah, there were 2 great body shot stoppages on that card.
For the boxing card?
Oh, yeah, the boxing card. There, that Drew Delly one was a body shot. Where did that other card go? And then there was, Brockington versus Dennis versus Brockington. It was a super lightweight bout. Liver shot first round. It was great. Standard southpaw versus orthodox, and I was pointing out to people people were like, man, that guy's a southpaw. Why is he going to like the wrong way? And I was like, because he's still stepping with his foot outside the other guy's foot. Like the other guy only knew how to really step like one direction, and Brockington just kept pulling him off into it. He put the cross out a couple times down the pipe. He was pawing the jab because he was letting the guy get comfortable behind it, and then he just sat, boom, long body shot, folded, over, done. And then the first boxing match of the night was, sorry, it's been so long since I've watched like a good boxing match.
Yeah,
and it was great to fucking just sit down and go like, oh shit, like good boxing going on right here.
Yeah, especially at the local level.
My favorite fight of the night had to be the opening fight, which was a boxing match. Brown making his pro debut. This is a 135 boxing match. He's out of the Charlotte area, out of Dime City Boxing, as well as actually a great boxing school. Very clean. This guy had the hardest fucking jab I've ever heard.
Just in terms of
the
crack. For a 35 or 2, that's crazy.
It was unreal. It was like the claw coming down in Toy Story, like the whole audience going, ooh! Like every time this dude's jab landed. And he fought Porter. I don't know if he's an MMA guy. He's from Killcliff, which is formerly Sanford, known for MMA. This guy had good boxing. He looked like he was boxing more at an MMA pace. Very clean though, but just couldn't keep up with
used to be
Brown's.
Sanford MMA.
Used to be Sanford, yeah. Just could not get past Brown's boxing fundamentals and that motherfucker of a jab. And he just, it was a 4-round fight. It didn't go, like the corner called it in between rounds.
Smart.
And it was smart because it was starting to get really bad for Brown. And oh my God, like I wish you were there just to like, I gotta take you to a boxing match. Have you seen boxing matches live?
Of course,
you have?
yeah.
That's right, yeah. Oh, Fight for it.
I've commentated some boxing.
That's right, yeah. I gotta take you some pro boxing matches sometimes and like see some of these like.
I've watched. So I've been to a couple of Christy Martin cards. And I've
those
seen
are good.
Donnie Mitchell fight a couple times.
Yeah. Oh, because you were at Jawbreakers.
Yeah. When I was with Jawbreaker, they would all go to the Durham Armory to see Donnie fight. Yeah. And those were pro fights. There was a lot of cool shit.
I really enjoy watching. Like I'm not very active. Like I teach a boxing class. I work with boxers. But like I'm new to like growing like a boxing team right now, which has been fun to like also get that going.
Yeah.
And some other projects on the way. But yeah, no, man, I need to go hang out at some boxing matches again. Like that really just gets my like, I love boxing fundamentals. So it always gets my head going in the right direction for like coaching.
The sweet.
But yeah, man, fuck, great time to hang out and just watch that card. You know, like I didn't know what I was in store for. I've never seen a Global Legion card, but I was really fucking glad I got to go hang out at one. I met the promoter, nice guy from Greece, very intense bald guy, and I just went, man, fucking amazing. And he was like, what? And like, because we're both in the bathroom, we're washing our hands, and I was like, oh, you run this, right? You own this? And he's like, yeah, I already forgot the guy's name. I'll remember it, and I'll tag him. Like, I'm sorry. But super nice guy, and he puts on an amazing show.
Hire us. Freak man.
Hire us.
To be commentators at your next
man,
show.
no, like, I mean, actually, like, I was talking, like, Talia's going to talk to Keith Richardson, and we'll probably get her on, like, one of these fight cards coming up.
Sweet.
Like, it was, like, one of those where I was like, oh, I really enjoy this experience of this fight card. I like how it was run. Like, I know a well-run fight show when I see one. I was like, yeah, let us know the next one. Like, shit. Yeah, so.
Awesome.
Can't wait to go to another Global Legion card, to be honest. Still made it in time to catch the co-main and main event.
Well, let's talk about a little bit about the card.
Okay. There was a big
caught me up
hoopla.
on Global Legion.
Yeah.
I'll
catch me up on. Yeah, I'd love to hear like the recaps of. When
we recorded our podcast on Wednesday, the card was Khamzat Chimaev versus Nate Diaz.
Yeah.
Kevin Holland versus Danny Rodriguez, and Li Jingliang against Tony Ferguson. When the card happened, it was obviously much different. Chimaev missed weight. A lot of people think Chimaev missed weight on purpose and was asked to miss weight by the UFC. I think that's pretty crazy.
But
I think he just was...
We've all seen crazier things in combat sports.
I think they're just trying to be more careful. Like, Khabib almost died, you know? Like, they don't want somebody to die cutting weight. That's like the worst thing that could happen to the UFC. It's infinitely worse than someone dying from getting knocked out in a cage.
True. Yeah.
Somebody dying from cutting weight in the back is infinitely worse for them, PR-wise. So I think they're monitoring it more closely, and especially for these big-time fights. You remember when we went through that, what Jack Slack calls the injury tsunami a couple of years ago, where every card somebody was getting fucked over? What they started doing during that time is they started paying a third fighter to make weight in case.
Oh, yeah.
They stopped doing that because they realized they were wasting money. What you can do instead is you can just book another fight of the same weight class as the third to last fight on the card.
I've done that.
And then pay whoever to bump up for the extra
As
rounds.
someone who's worked as a amateur matchmaker, like I've never done any big matchmaking, but you have to sometimes do. It's like, oh, you guys missed weight at the same weight, you're going to fight each other.
My theory is that Khamzat was cutting weight and it wasn't going according to plan, and he let the UFC know, as you should, as you are a professional fighter. If you think there's a chance you're not going to make weight, if you're not on track, his coach probably made the right move and was like, we need to let the UFC know, maybe they can help us. But instead, what the UFC did was they sent the doctor, and the doctor was like, stop cutting weight, you're not going to make it, and just go back to drinking and eating whatever you want. So that's why Khamzat went to the restaurant that night. He was already told by the doctor that the fight wasn't going to happen hours before the news broke. That's the real issue here, is that a long time ago, UFC, it was the card where I think it's 198 or 199. Whenever Luke Rockhold and Michael Bisping fought and Michael Bisping won the title, UFC 200 was going to be the return of Brock Lesnar. And Ariel Helwani spoiled it before the UFC could announce it. He got wind of one of his sources telling him that Brock Lesnar would be coming back on 200, and he said, rumored, Brock Lesnar could be returning at 200 and they could be announcing it as soon as tonight. And they did, and he got in a shitload of heat from the UFC for that, and they revoked all of his media credentials, even though he was really just doing what you're supposed to do as a media person, which is report the news. But that has made it very difficult for media people to maneuver now in situations like this, because if the UFC doesn't want it to be known, it's very scary for someone that doesn't have Ariel Helwani's platform and name to go against the grain and announce it early. That's why the press conferences these days are John Morgan, who always asks the same question, and he's always the first guy to get his questions out of the way. He's like, "How you feeling after that fight, man?" Like, that guy. And then the full sim guys. I mean, the guys that are literally in Dana's pocket, they are the other people at the conferences now. So the media system's all fucked up. So I think that it just wasn't reported for a long time that Khamzat wasn't going to make weight.
I mean, he gets to the two main media sources he needs, the hardcores and the fanboys.
Yes.
Like, he has it covered with those two, so Dana's like, these are my guys, like, everyone else there's to pick up the crumbs of news.
Exactly. And that's how they're being treated, for sure. So I don't think there's some grand conspiracy to make the card better, because it's not like the UFC suddenly had a change of heart of being like, oh, well, we want to do right by Nate. They don't give a fuck about that. They do not give a flying fuck. What they were trying to do was, one, kill Nate's star power before he tries to leave the UFC so that he can have less negotiating power with boxing promoters, so that he's forced to re-sign with the UFC in some hopes of maintaining his stardom. Okay. Second option is you get a good squash match for Khamzat, because it's not like they're going to have a competitive fight. No. So while killing his star power,
after
you're
watching what he did to fucking Holland, he would have, like, that would have been, it would have been getting ready for a fucking funeral
two birds
service.
with one stone, because you got to have a squash match for Khamzat. You can't give him someone who knows how to wrestle, right?
Right.
So you kill Nate's star power while building Khamzat's. Everything works out, but that's not how things went down. The MMA gods stepped in on behalf of Nathan Diaz and threw a fucking wrench in this whole thing. and it was the one person that missed weight that could be the one person who misses weight and still gets to have like a fight. Doesn't affect Nate's status, doesn't affect Tony's status. Everything just worked out a little too perfectly.
I personally like this outcome other than like the other potential outcomes. I think.
Right.
I mean,
and they paid, and you know, Dana, Jack Slack was talking about this on his podcast, but he was like, you know, Dana comes out and says, well, Nate and Kevin and Tony and Zheng Liang and Danny Rodriguez, none of them got extra money to fight new opponents.
Right.
But then Nate and Kevin come out and say that's not the case. We did make more money.
Yeah,
it's
they
great.
were the two both highest paid guys. Nate walked away with 1.2 or 1.5 million off the bat, and Kevin got like 450,000 or something like that.
Yeah, and it's great for the UFC because
I was like, fuck,
those
like,
two
really
guys get taken care of. They get their money and their main event, co-main event status. But also, it gets disseminated out into the casual audience that the UFC just gives money away all the time in the back that we don't know about, and they're taking care of fighters, and the disclosed payout is not all the money that they make. So you can't really say shit about fighter pay because we don't know actually how they're making. But it all works out so perfectly for the UFC PR-wise for them to do all these very select moves that they did. And it's not a grand conspiracy to get more people to buy the pay-per-view, despite what you may believe. It's just that this is how things worked out. They could do it in a way where Nate's still the headliner, gets to fight a person people actually want to see him fight. Khamzat still gets a squash match against somebody who has no idea what to do against a fucking ankle pick. And who cares about Zheng Liang and Danny Rodriguez? It just so happened that they could fight each other, that they were in an acceptable range to fight each other. So they got to keep that fight. That was just
kind
extra.
of like, I think it was like a perfect storm of like shit to happen.
It is. Because I don't think Nate Diaz plays into some grand conspiracy by the UFC and then doesn't tell everybody about it.
Nate Diaz is in the fuck you pay me department. He'll just he's like, fuck, if we're doing something different, just pay me more and I'll fucking do it. That's all he wants. And now it's like he's getting across to people, like people are telling he changed the game a bit.
That being said, it was a weirder fight card. Jamie Pickett opened up the card, looked good in the first round, but started to get figured out in the second round. And in the clinch, Dennis Tululian just was timing these elbows that were just giving Jamie a really hard time. And I don't even think Jamie got knocked out, so that's good. He just got really rocked to the point where he couldn't reasonably defend himself. But he never really went out, it looked like, which was nice. So TKO for them. But, you know, the commentators and the media package before the fight seemed to be really high on Pickett. So I wouldn't think...
That's good.
I don't think he's going anywhere. And that's only, you know, he's a win one, lose one kind of guy so far in the UFC.
Hey,
so
and
as long as he wins
that's what
his next one,
Xingling Zhang's been doing for fucking ever now.
There's nothing wrong with it. Yeah, that's what keeps you in the UFC.
He's been getting in some good win streaks lately, but like in this sport... that win one, lose one, win one. It happens. Like,
and it'll keep
it happens as an amateur.
UFC.
It happens when you start out as a pro, and it happens when you get to the UFC or Bellator or one. You know, it's the name of the beast. When you have this many options, like it's gonna fucking
Jamie's
happen.
also, even when he was fighting around here, it's not like he's a submission specialist,
right?
And it's not like he's a striking specialist.
Yeah,
he's just a good fighter in all areas, but he doesn't have one area that's like an S rank.
He excels at, but
yeah,
he
like
does get
if
better.
this were an EA
he
Sports
loses.
game, like he doesn't have a 99 in any category, but he's got about a 90 in every category.
Right. Yeah.
So no big areas of weakness, but no massive areas of strength either.
Right.
So this is just that part of your career where you have to figure out how to utilize being very well balanced or develop a strength. Mm-hmm. And I think he does a pretty good job, you know, with balance. I think he could just use a little bit more defense because he's, you know, kind of a go forward, put people on the cage, take them down. But if you're getting hit on the way in...
When he gets going, he's so fucking fast. But here's the problem with the
so
UFC.
athletic.
Like,
he's so athletic.
Everyone's that fucking athletic at that point.
Speaking of athletes, Hakeem Dawodu and Julian Erosa had a really good fight. Hakeem Dawodu is one of the most like crazy athletic but still technical guys in this weight class. And Julian Erosa just really put a clinic on him. I mean, it was really one-sided for Erosa.
Wow, I was expecting Dawodu
on the feet, Hakeem and Erosa were kind of even, but Erosa was just shutting down a lot of the combinations. He was making it like a shot picking contest, and when you're going 1-for-1 like that and you get into that rhythm of going 1-for-1, it's easy for a jiu-jitsu guy to kind of sneak in with a takedown or sneak in with a quick trip, because you're not used to that coming after the one shot. Once you get kind of lulled into that. And Erosa, when he got it on the ground in any capacity, he was fully in control. I mean, he had a lot of back ride time in this one. He couldn't finish Duwadu because Duwadu is really, really tough, but that's only Duwadu's third loss. His second loss in the UFC, I think. I think he's lost 2 in a row now. So Julian Erosa, like I was saying on last week's podcast, he's a former opponent of Paddy the Baddy, but he doesn't see that fight ever, like a rematch ever happening for him, because Paddy's probably not long for that weight class anyway. Yeah. So, yeah.
Dude, do you see his behind the scene things? Like, you want to talk about the post fight bulk, like, and he admits that, like, goddamn, like, he needs to move to middleweight or stay on a diet, but he's not a drink. Like, he just likes to eat.
If he ever missed weight, I would agree with you. And it's obviously not healthy. It's obviously not healthy to gain and lose that much weight.
That catches up to you, and like when you turn 30.
Yes. Yeah. And he's about to.
And he's
getting close.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, he has that ability of. I think he has a pretty good. It's hard to say if you have a good metabolism or a bad metabolism, you can put on that much weight that fast. But I also watched him eat like 25 chicken wings on the Mike Tyson podcast.
Right.
And it's just like, well, that's 3,000, 4,000 calories of chicken.
Oh, he talks
and he's just
about
acting like it's not a big
post
deal.
fight weight, or like post fight that week after it. He's got 10,000 calorie days easy, and I'm like,
what the fuck?
Are you like?
Right.
I love a food bender now that I'm not much of a drinker, but like, bro, are you fucking kidding me?
But yeah, I mean, even on my days off, like even like on a Saturday, if I eat 10 chicken wings,
you'll see me eat like during a fight night. I will sometimes, if there's snacks available, I fucking eat the whole time.
You're a chip guy.
I'm a chip guy. I'm a snack
go in
guy.
on some chip guys.
I'm a snack guy. I'm a little like, if there's like little things to eat, I'm gonna eat that the whole night. There's a fight going on. I fucking love it. But how, man? How can you eat that much like every day for a couple days? Like,
I don't get it.
I'll do a 10,000 calorie day like once a month. Like,
dude, if I have a 4,000 calorie day on accident somehow.
Actually, no, I don't think I can do a 10,000 calorie day. Like, I don't think
I'll feel it for a week.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a pretty big guy. I should be able to put away a lot of food, but if I eat that much, 3,000, 4,000 calories, I'm having a tough time training that Monday morning. I'm having a tough time going to work. I'm going to be feeling...
It's slowing you down for a while.
I feel it. But yeah, Paddy the Baddy, Julian Erosa, probably not a future fight, so they seem like they're homies. I think Julian Erosa's, especially after this fight, you got to give him a guy in the top 15, top 10, like closer to the top 10, I would think, 12, 11. Very competitive weight class, obviously, but I think he kind of proved in this one that he's ready for like stiffer competition, because if you run through Hakeem Dawodu in a one-sided decision, it's like that's a clear indicator that you're ready for like world. The most part was actually very fun. Johnny Walker versus Iantu Kutelaba. Johnny Walker and me and my friends were all watching this fight, and they were like, "Do you remember when Johnny Walker came into the UFC? What a fun time it was! What a great time! What a great era that was of him just fucking flying knee knockouting people and doing all kind of weird shit." And as he was walking out, we were like, it's crazy to think that after this one they're going to cut him and he's just going to be gone.
Right, everyone kind of had him written off.
He's going to just get knocked out again and whatever. But a lot of people don't realize this immediately unless you're like super hardcore into the sport. You might not realize that Johnny Walker really reinvented himself over the last 2 years, and it's just now coming to fruition. He went to SBG to train for like a month with John Kavanaugh and just kind of get some grappling work in, and was like, fuck it, I'm moving here. Like, he moved to Ireland, married an Irish woman who's probably 4'0", which is crazy to think about, but he's at SBG full time, living in Ireland, married an Irish woman, living that Dublin lifestyle, and has just become a fucking beast of a grappler. I mean, as soon as he touched Kutelaba, it was like, we're on the ground. I'm moving to this sequence. We're passing. I'm going to the back. And when he got to the back, he started hand fighting in like such an educated way that I was like, oh, this is a new Johnny Walker. Like, this is what I want to see from guys like him when they start getting knocked out. Like, when you start getting knocked out and you're like a freak athlete and you're just not technical enough to hang with the big boys, just use that freak athleticism and start...
Charles Oliveira shows you have a certain punch limit you can take.
Make it into an advantage in a different department, or try to change your style in a way where you're not getting hit as much. And I really felt like John Kavanagh, SBG Ireland, they are known as one-hit wonders for producing Conor McGregor and no one else. But, Kavanagh is a very well-respected black belt, and as far as Ireland goes, people think he's like the most knowledgeable person in the entire country on jiu-jitsu. So that's obviously for a reason, and we saw a little bit of that reason in this fight. So Johnny Walker, happy to see him kind of put a grappling display on Cutelaba, who's no slouch of a grappler either, and pick up a win here. A much, much needed win. 19-7 now. I remember when he was 19-0, or 16-0 when he was in the UFC, or 15-0. Irene Aldana versus Macy Chiasson. This is one of the best women's fight I've seen in a long time.
Yeah,
it's a great fight.
I saw a clip of the finish.
All Aldana in the first round really almost finished Chiasson with an armbar where she hyperextended Chiasson's arm, but Chiasson, her arm just didn't break. Like you can see it hyperextending. She rolls through, and she gets it attacked immediately again. She's getting triangled. She almost got finished like 6 ways to Sunday in the first round, and she went back to her stool and she was fucked up. And I couldn't hear her coach because they were doing an ad, but I could see the body language because they had it like screen during the pay-per-view. And though they were doing replays, not an ad. And Chiasson got up off that fucking stool and immediately ran to the center of the cage and started throwing bombs. Like, really fought like she was trying to get one back on Aldana. Like, she was fighting as if she had just received a 10-8 round and needed to have a 10-8 round. And she was smacking the shit out of Aldana with some crazy punches and kicks. And it was just a fucking scrap all of a sudden. And Aldana was, like, loving it.
God damn, that's why I'm bummed out. I love watching Irene Aldana fight,
and then that third round starts, and it really seems like Chiasson is taking over the fight. It really seems like Chiasson is going to win this fight. And then she takes, I think she might have, like, sat her down, or she like went like for a trip and stood up immediately. But I remember she got Aldana sitting and was like, there was a visible like stop on her face where she was like, I don't want to engage the guard. So she stood up in place, and she stood up in a way that was like almost as if you were standing up from a squat instead of doing like a technical backup. And she just stood up in place, and Aldana fucking bridged her hip up and just axe kicked her right in the fucking liver. And I was like, it happened so fast. When we watched the replay, we were like, did she get injured? What happened? Like, we were like, what just happened? Did she get kicked in the vagina? Like, or what? Because that's what the commentator said. The commentator said, oh, it looks like she got kicked low. But then the refs waving it off, and the commentators are like, what, is this going to be a DQ? And the refs like caught, like giving the hand signal for a knockout finish. So they replay it, and dude, it is like picture perfect, heel to liver.
My phone blew up when that happened, and I was like, X-ray. I don't know what's going on. I'm at Live Fights, and I was putting my phone away. Like, man.
Dude.
Like, when I saw the clip, I was blown away.
Honestly, that was fight of the night. I don't know. I think maybe Tony and Nate won actual fight of the night, but for me, Irene Aldana versus Macy Chiasson was a fucking awesome fight. Then you had Li Jingliang the Leech, who's really the hero of this card.
Yes.
Versus Danny Rodriguez.
The most champ shit posts I've ever seen.
He was the guy who said yes to everything. Yeah. Like, you talk about guys who say yes, he's the guy who had the least to win in this whole situation. In fact, he had everything to lose. He now is a step behind even further than he was.
No, I don't think so. Like, I mean...
the UFC is going to take care of him by giving him a matchup that's comparable.
He's going to have at least two more favorable but tough matchups. Like Daniel Rodriguez and him, I think they should have a rematch down the road anyways. From what I've heard about this fight, right? Like, it was a great fight from what I heard.
It was good. It was a good fight.
I heard some robberies from some people. Some people were saying that
Jingliang won the first 2 rounds very comfortably, and then kind of
took off.
I mean, DC said the second round was very, very close. I would say the first round was closer than the second, but it was very clear to me. The only thing that was very clear to me in that fight was that Liang took the foot off the gas in the third round.
Okay.
And really chilled.
Yeah.
And really let D-Rod kind of get going. So he gave away one round. And when you're talking about this game, and it's a 3-round game, it's so fucking hard to give away a round.
You have to, like, even if you, like, and we've seen it, you have to know you've beaten the shit out of somebody. Like,
you have to
like,
be of the mindset of, I have a 10-8.
Yeah, exactly.
You have to be of that mindset where it's like, I have a 10-8. And it's very rarely that I see somebody take their foot off the gas.
You can pull back like the risk a bit in the third round, but you still have to stay ahead.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You have to comfortably stay
who
ahead.
the fuck knows what the refs are looking at if they're even watching the fight.
Right. Yeah, 100%. We've seen it. We've seen it. But I thought, Rodriguez looked good, just not very technical. He's obviously very athletic. He's obviously very strong. He's just not very technical, which is why I favored him more in a fight against Holland than I would against a guy like Liang, even though he was oversized on Liang. Because Liang did a really good job of making a technical stand-up fight for the first 2 rounds.
It's been a lot of fun to watch his evolution.
He's one of those. He's one of those Charles Oliveira type guys where he's just been around forever. And
we're gonna see him fight for a title one day.
Coming into his especially if they give him somebody comparable to Tony again in that lightweight division where he belongs, or welterweight division. Then he could be 4 or 5 fights away maybe from a title shot. Well, he's Chinese.
So he doesn't age.
So, he won't age.
He's 34 years old, so maybe he won't get a title shot, but he's gonna be hanging out around like the 15 and the 10 in a couple years.
It's a very competitive division.
Yeah.
Welterweight's a very problematic.
But I think he's not far from having one of those runs that gets a lot of good eyes on him and a good, like
Oliveira wasn't in a place to have a title match either. He just kept winning. He just kept winning over and over again. There was a time where he was a far cry from that title match. I mean, you think about him versus Tony Ferguson and then everything he did after that. It's pretty fucking crazy. But Liang is definitely clearly a talent, and everything he's done for Chinese MMA. I mean, there is no Zhang Wei Li without him.
Yes.
There is no of these other Chinese fighters without him. So I think he's one of those guys that the UFC will take care of, not only because he always puts on exciting fights, but because he was apt to say yes in this situation, which he got fucked harder than anybody on the whole card. Then comes at Chimaev got his squash match against Kevin Holland.
He reminds me of Blackbeard Hogan.
Fake glove touch, straight to the ankle pick. Love it.
He is the Blackbeard Hulk Hogan of the UFC.
I would say he's
NWO.
He's the Iron Sheik.
You think so?
Yes.
I see like him and Darren Till as
he's
like Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage.
No, he's definitely Iron Sheik, and Till is British Bulldog.
Okay.
And Colby, unfortunately for everyone, is the American that will stop him.
Yeah.
Kamaru probably would do very well against Chimaev. But I think Colby is the one who's harder to take down. I think Colby's been taken down. He doesn't have that stat that Kamaru had before the Edwards fight of having never been taken down.
Everyone sleeps on how good Colby is because he comes off as such a piece of shit. But he plays the heel well. Like
not only that, but it's just we've rarely ever seen him. Even Kamaru was like, I can't beat this guy by wrestling him.
Yeah, and then his striking, he knows how to stay in that fight the whole time. Like, the dude's a fucking dog.
That's the fight I want to see.
Like, I'd love to see Colby and Hamzat.
I want to see Hamzat versus Colby, bro.
That would be an awesome, like, co-main event. Make it a 5-round co-main event.
Dana, I know you'd like to...
Dude, that'd be so great.
I know you like to use that 80s WWF playbook, and you'll never book heel versus heel, but this is one exception where you gotta do it. You gotta do it. I definitely want to see that fight more than any other fight in that division right now, especially after this performance. So, I mean, you saw this fight for as long as it lasted?
I mean, yeah. I wanted to definitely catch the main event, and I kind of wish I hadn't. Like, I could have gone to sleep without watching that. But
so we'll get to that. Holland is a black belt in jiu-jitsu, from what I understand, so he probably had a good reason for the defense that he was using. I was just really curious why he didn't try to go skydiver at any point and try to like build back some kind of frame in Turtle. I always say when people are like trying to roll away from a Darce that you're kind of just buying yourself time. You're not really actually defending. It's kind of like rolling in a heel hook. Unless you get your knee clear while you're rolling, you're just buying yourself an extra couple of seconds.
Well, this looked like Holland just doesn't have the IQ to keep up with someone like that. Like, plain and simple. Like, we've all seen it play out like that at every level.
We were talking about this.
Tying together, like the way that Khamzat will tie together his wrestling from like headlock positions and his upper body wrestling to his jiu-jitsu. And even his trips to sitting out. Like, the motherfucker has a position everywhere.
Right.
And he threw positions at Holland like strikes, where he's like, I'm going to be here, 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 I'm going to be here. And Holland's like, cool, wait, man, fuck, shit, how are you, where the fuck, how'd you get right there? And you saw the look on Holland's face just kind of go like, bitch, you are everywhere I'm trying to go to.
That's exactly
and he fell into it.
The point I was going to make is we were having.
You ever rolled with Seth Champ? It's like rolling with a fucking like daddy long leg.
We were
tarantula.
You and I were talking about why
that's what it looked like.
Why you like teaching Muay Thai and why you've never resonated with teaching grappling is because jiu-jitsu and grappling can be very systematic. And it's like Khamzat
like what grappling is for MMA. I see that and I'm like, well, see, that makes sense because there's a lot more like danger in the strikes and
operates
like, as much like there's way more attacks, which means there's way more escapes and defenses for it. Where like jiu-jitsu and a gi and like no gi, I'm just like, I'll watch it and I see what's going on, but then like when I see it take place for like MMA, I'm like, yeah, that's how you should MMA grapple.
Yeah, like, he operates very much in that way too, where he's like doing things. And Kevin Holland is trying to go to the systematic approach.
Yes, and we're talking about that like with Bonesaw's win, with Wendy and Nunson's win, like that.
You
like
can skip steps.
You attack the system, and then you skip a step, and you have a different place to attack.
Yeah, because if they start immediately doing a system, then you know the next step in the system, and that's what Wendy did in her fight. She countered the systematic back take defense. So I think Khamzat was just every time Kevin tried to hand fight or adjust. Khamzat made some kind of micro adjustment or some kind of weight shift that just made it impossible for him to do anything but roll. And it's like, I was talking to Cody about this in today's class actually, but he was like, if you feel like you're about to get submitted and your back is, if you're on your knees and you're about to get submitted, try to get to your back, like try to put your back on the mat. And if your back is on the mat and you're trying to get submitted, try to roll to your knees. And that's seems to be what Kevin Holland was going for, but he just could not roll to his knees. So that way was completely closed. So only one defense was left open to him. That's my theory.
Like in Muay Thai, you'll say, if you're rocked, go to the clinch. Don't go to the outside.
But that, I think that, Holland doesn't lose any stock here because he was supposed to fight somebody else, and Khamzat's somebody that you need to very specifically.
Tony Ferguson is now on a 5-fight losing streak, and the motherfucker isn't losing stock by any means.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about the main event. You didn't like it.
It looked like the most technical two uncles at a barbecue fighting like I've ever seen, man. It's like your uncle with the boxing experience fights the uncle with the karate experience, and like they both might have wrestled in high school, and they just don't fucking like each other, and they're knocking over the porks and beans, and kids are getting kicked. Like, they were both, like, Nate Diaz, he did clown around, like, he did some Nate Diaz-ass shit. Tony Ferguson tried to do some Tony Ferguson-ass shit, but it looked like a 37 and a 38-year-old, like, were in a fight. Like, they were, they were doing the stuff that worked way better for them when they were younger athletes. I wish I had seen, and like this is me being like I was at a Hooters, so I was looking around. People were like, I can do that. I'm like, no shit, you can flail your fucking arms around and like hit a person in the face. Like, yeah, like I bet you could. Like if the person's fucking around, but like it looked like like I wish they had a bit more experience and technical savvy to their fight than like what I saw. Like I was like, man, like.
So the problem that I saw was, okay. So I'll say this: Nick and Nate excel at making boring fights entertaining by keeping you guessing as to what's going to happen next. Yeah. Like even when that fight was boring,
you never knew what was going to happen. That's what I liked. That's what kept me into it.
Nate's antics.
Yeah. Nate's antics.
So the problem was Nate was getting frustrated because he was getting out weirded. he's used to being the weirdo in there and throwing people
Well,
off.
Tony doesn't stop. Like, he was starting to, like, break a little bit at the end of it, but, like, every time Diaz had an answer, Tony was like, okay, and he would just
do something weird.
Like, he would do some spin, like, and
he would do something very weird, and Nate's used to being the guy throwing people off their game, and I think he was just like, his game was like attacked more so than he was. Like, I'm gonna leg kick you because everybody knows you don't know how to check leg kicks, but I'm also not gonna stand right in front of you and let me 1-2 you. I'm just gonna do whatever I want. Like, I'm just gonna spin around and be goofy and all this other shit. And that worked for a little while, but the problem is, you know, Tony could do stuff like that, and he could rely on certain setups when he was younger because he was incredibly fast. Like, you know, you watch him versus Rafael dos Anjos, and he does this thing, Jack Slack mentioned it on his podcast as well, where he just runs up and leg kicks you like fucking Happy Gilmore. Like, literally a running start leg kick, and you will never see it in kickboxing or Muay Thai because it's a big tell and people are technical and fast enough to know that you can check your leg really quickly. Quicker than you can set that up, you can do a check, right? In MMA, people didn't know that, and also Tony was very, very fast. Yeah. So he could just run up and fucking do that to someone. Yeah. But now he's not fast enough to do that.
No, Nate Diaz checked the shit out of that first kick.
Yeah.
Everyone at the bar just went, oh, even me, I was like, oh.
Shin to shin, and then a fucking sock of blood.
Yeah, just immediately.
But I loved the fight for the perspective of not knowing what was going to happen, and then Tony got tired, and then once Tony got tired, Nate started touching him more and more and more and more, and that's what forced the takedown. Yeah. Nate, we talked about it when we were talking about him versus Khamzat. He's got two fucking moves.
He fucking looked for that. Like, that guillotine was so fast. Like, that was great. Like,
he could have tapped him with one hand.
You can see, like, he wanted Khamzat to shoot. Like,
yeah, that was the plan. That was definitely the plan, and I think that, like, Nate's got two moves he can fucking finish you with from so many different places, and it's the triangle and his guillotine. Both are phenomenal, and he could have tapped Tony with one hand, but he made sure he got it in and made sure. But he, you know, I thought that his performance was like passable. He would have gotten buzzsawed by Khamzat, so I'm glad that if this is going to be his last fight ever, that I got to know it was going to be his last fight in the UFC, that I got to like hold my breath before the walkout and be like, this may be the last Nate Diaz walkout I ever watch. Yeah. And it's like, do you look good in this fight or do you look like shit in this fight? Because if you look good in this fight, you get to fight Jake Paul.
I mean, he just looked like Nate Diaz.
If you look like Nate Diaz, then you get to fight Logan Paul. And then if you beat Logan Paul, you get to fight Jake Paul. Yeah. So, and then as soon as the fight was over, he starts talking about boxing. Though he doesn't say the word boxing, kind of leaves that open for himself. He just says another sport.
Yeah. We can see Real Fight Inc. match up with
Before we
Paul
move
Brothers
on to this
Promotions.
weekend's card, though, I just want to say, you didn't have commentary in the Hooters, did you? You didn't have sound?
No. I had to listen to some guy from New Jersey talk about how he was recently living in a hotel.
Rogan.
And also was living under a bridge while he was trying to make friends with the Hooters. So I was, like, enthralled with some people watching commentary while watching two uncles fight. Well, so I missed the commentary. Sorry, it's just I can't do Hooters.
The commentary was good. Man. I don't think the commentary was good because it like was trying to keep those moments of them not doing anything entertaining, and they were into the fight. Oh, okay. They weren't bored by the fight. They were very into it.
I wasn't bored by the fight. It was one of those like
mention,
I was tired and could have been in bed.
But it's easy for commentators to when somebody's resting and just be like, "What the fuck is going on?" Because I remember they did that to Connor. Like Connor simply circled away from Nate, and Nate was like, "You're running, you're tired." In this fight, he literally walked away and put his hands on the cage and was like mid-round resting.
Well, it works for Nate Diaz when Nate Diaz engages that. When the person talking shit like McGregor does that, then it's like, bro, come on, dude.
But no one talks more shit than Nate. Anyway.
But that's why Nate Diaz comes out on top.
I just wanted to mention that Rogan was on some shit.
Yeah. I can't wait. Like in a couple weeks, this will be.
It's not about the commentary. It's about the post-fight interviews because when Khamzat won, he was like, "Congratulations on the win. So why the fuck did you miss weight?" Like, basically, I mean, in so many words, he's like, and comes out, it's like, I don't care about missing weight. I'm here to kill everybody, beat everybody. He's like, hey, I get that, but if you want to fight for the championship, there's a championship weight limit, and you need to explain to the UFC and all these people that you can actually make that weight if you expect to fight.
I didn't hear any of that.
Rogan was on some shit. Kamzat was
Okay.
just trying to deliver like a goofy ass Iron Sheik promo, and Rogan's like, oh, okay, I get it, but you gotta make weight though.
But make the weight.
But anyway, before we get out of here, let's do a quick preview of this weekend's fight card, which I know Trevor is very excited about. Going down this weekend, UFC free fight night. Can't believe this one's free.
I know, like, I'm salivating at this fucking card, man. Jesus. Oh my gosh. Like, pretty much every fight, top to bottom, I can't wait to sit down and watch.
This is going to be a good one.
Very upset about I didn't know that it had dropped off until Saturday. I heard from someone the Giga and Sadiq fight dropped off.
That's tough.
Fucking bummer, but I hope they remake that.
Could be a fight night main event.
That could be its own fight night main event.
Super Sadiq.
Sarge versus Moroz, that one dropped as well. It don't matter. Like, great. Sarge is someone to watch. I've met her in person. Great human being. Always like watching her fight. But yeah, okay. The only fight I really don't recognize is the very first one, Nicholas Mata, Cameron Van Camp. Do you know anything about these guys?
Is that the early prelims?
That's the very first fight of the night, which is at
the early prelims
3
aren't
p.m.
posted on Google.
Oh, I have it on. Oh, I got it right here. Anyways, why did you just zoom out? Come on, phone, don't do this to me. You're making me look dumber than I normally am. But here it is.
Is it Nicholas Mata? Cameron Van Camp?
Yeah,
Van Camp, I saw him fight on the Contender Series.
Okay, that's what he's from. Okay, I don't really know them, but
Friend of the show, Tony Gravely.
Tony Gravely, longtime veteran of like the North Carolina fight scene. Been kind of hit or miss. He came up short against Maines recently, also a veteran of like the Carolina and Tennessee fight scene. Tony Gravely, a lot of fun to watch. Lots of experience, really coming to his own as someone who's a great finisher at bantamweight now. Very heavy ground and pound from the guard, fighting undefeated prospect Yavid Basharat.
That's a tough one, man.
Tough fight. And guess
I don't know
what?
why they give this motherfucker.
Hey, and you know what? It's a tough fight for anybody that fight either of these guys. So fuck it, at bantamweight, with that kind of weight class that it is, great fucking matchup. Like, who wants to fight these guys?
True.
Nobody. So make them fight each other. Then you have Maria Agapova versus Jillian Robertson, classic striker versus grappler. You've got Maria Agapova, who's kind of like, who's the former flyweight champion. Joanna's like kind of like distant cousin, you know? They're the same kind of like kickboxing gremlin in MMA. Jillian Robertson, fantastic product of Dean Thomas. Solid boxing on the feet, shines on the ground. So we can expect this, having good back and forth. Jillian will hang in there. She has been overwhelmed on the feet before. Sometimes quickly, sometimes she comes back.
Yeah.
If she gets this fight to the cage, it's going to get interesting.
If
she gets it to the ground, I like seeing Agapova. I hope she's evolved because it'll make a really fun fight.
Yeah, I will say that if Jillian gets this one to the ground, it can be very, very one-sided. Jillian has good jiu-jitsu for not just women's flyweight MMA, but for MMA in general and jiu-jitsu in general. She is a very, very, very gifted grappler. Oh,
and then we have Daniel Zellhuber. Oh my fuck! Have you seen this kid's highlights?
No.
Okay, we'll look at some highlights together
for sure.
And this is definitely someone that should be on your radar. He is the Mexican product. He is the next wave of Mexican fighters. If you want to watch an undercard fight, watch this kid fight. He had his debut on Dana White's Contender Series. It showed that it was his biggest fight yet, but the kid's gotten better, and he's like 20 years old or some shit.
Oh my
like,
God.
He is the golden boy of Mexican MMA.
Is he from that team that Brandon used to be on?
No, I don't know. Maybe, but he came up on like the Combate Americas. Like, so he's like the big shower from Combate Americas, fighting Trey Ogden. Great matchup for Daniel Zellhuber to get his feet wet in the
Ogden's
UFC.
no joke.
No fucking joke.
Yeah, Ogden's
very
no
tough
joke.
guy. Denise Gomez versus Lomi Lukbanmi. Loma Lukbanmi is a great Muay Thai practitioner. Lots of Muay Thai experience.
Yeah,
Denise Gomez, seasoned Mexican grappler and boxer. Great matchup. The women's division, when you kind of see that gap of no Muay Thai, you'll see the boxer grapplers kind of get outworked in the clinch. So we could see Loma look great with like elbows and knees in the clinch that could break Denise Gomez early on, or we'd see Gomez put her into the cage and maybe still get caught up in the elbow and knee fight or drag Loma to the ground. She doesn't really shine on the ground. Gomez shines a bit more on the ground.
Yeah,
like once again, like for strawweight, there's going to be two cats in a fucking bag.
Spend your life chasing Muay Thai championships. There's not a lot of time for
Aspen Ladd versus Sarah McMahon. Are you fucking kidding me?
That's a good fight.
How is this still the early prelims?
Yeah, it's a good fight.
Like Sarah McMahon, Olympic silver medalist fighting young prospect Aspen Ladd. Are you fucking serious? Like this could be on a pay-per-view card fight. I don't know who takes that. I kind of got to lean towards Aspen Ladd. Sarah McMahon has been looking great. She's been having a bit of renaissance, but she still doesn't put the whole thing together like Aspen Ladd.
She's like Holly Holm, where it just seems like the older she gets, and she is quite old for this division, she just doesn't fall off athletically like other people do.
No, yeah.
She's like a lifelong athlete.
She's not a very explosive athlete, but she's a great grinder. She fights in there the whole time. That's why I'm just like, man, Sarah could still grind out Aspen Ladd.
Yeah, definitely.
I could also see Aspen Ladd.
Grind.
I could see Aspen Ladd picking her apart for 3 rounds at the same time. Trevin Giles is a motherfucker. Yeah. Luis Kose.
I love watching Trevin Giles fight.
He fights like a motherfucker. Yeah. I like him.
He's awesome.
Damon Jackson, the guy who looks like he shouldn't be that good, but he's that fucking good.
Yeah, he literally looks like a guy you would see at at the grocery store line. Just a normal guy.
Oh, it's like, that guy's buying.
It's like
dairy.
Josh Emmett. It's like Josh Emmett.
That guy's buying dairy-free cheese, and he's still looking at the Booksford store at checkout. Like he's that guy.
I see Josh Emmett, and I'm like, that guy's one of the best featherweights in the world, and one of the scariest motherfuckers on the planet. He looks like an IT guy.
Pat Sabatini, no joke. Amazing grappler.
Yeah, Sabatini's a good grappler, dude. And he's 17-3. That's a better record than I thought he had.
Oh no, he's got a solid record. Brought to the Northeast fight scene. Yeah. Anthony Fluffy Hernandez taking on Marc-Andre Barrios, who is a fucking tank.
Barrios sick.
He is a French fucking tank.
Yeah,
he's like GSP's angrier, less technical, less like polished brother, but he's like angrier, but he still has that French athleticism.
Yeah, I was wondering where the fuck he was during the Paris card. I was like, he must have another fight.
Well, he's Canadian. He's French Canadian.
There was other French Canadians on that card too, though.
But I think I think this fight was already booked, and
that's true.
That's a great this is definitely a fight between two guys they're trying to put as co-mains on future fight nights. When you see the matchup like this to top off the fucking wildest prelim card I've ever seen, amazing fight to have in store. Anthony Hernandez, I think this is a bit too much for him to chew off.
That's all before 6 p.m.
All before 6 p.m.
7 p.m. right?
Or 7 p.m. And then, buddy, at 6 p.m. or 7 p.m.
Yes.
Tanner Boser versus Rodrigo.
Boser's very entertaining.
Boser is very entertaining. Not Rodrigo for Fajea. Solid, well-rounded heavyweight. No joke. Boser never gets an easy fight, really. I think that he should take the nod in this one. I think he's a bit more well-rounded than a Brazilian heavyweight.
Yeah, he's just got to worry about the takedown.
It being a heavyweight. About it being a heavyweight fight. Don't get taken down, don't get hit. Yeah.
He's also a brown belt. Rodrigo Nascimento.
Andre Fili is fighting Bill Algeo.
This is a fucking fight of the night sleeper right
100%.
People are going to look at the main event and be like, that's your fight of the night. But these two guys only know one fucking speed. Yeah. And it is Top Gear.
It is chaos. Yeah. Up, down, left, right, button mash all day. The co-main now, this is someone I was telling, someone's like, hey coach, who should I be looking out for? Chidi Njokuani. Yeah. This motherfucker.
This is his coming out party, probably, but Gregory Rodriguez is no joke.
He showed some amazing boxing improvement in his last fight.
Bro,
he took out the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Julian Marquez.
He had that cross step off uppercut, and you're just like, are you fucking kidding me? But I feel like Chidi, this is not the guy that Gregory should stand with.
Julian also, in my opinion, one of those guys.
Gregory is an accomplished black belt.
Kind of got rushed to the top level.
Yeah,
Julian did.
Tuesday Night Contender Series, it happens.
And he was one of the first guys. And they were like, we need to push this
It's also, this guy, Gregory, is just getting better with each fight. Since his LFA titles, he's older.
But he's older.
He's older.
That's what
Chidi that's why, Chidi, I think if Greg keeps it on the feet.
Really good fight.
Chidi's going to sleep him. If Gregory manages to get him down, he's going to win. Like there's a lot of like great matchups, and then Jesus Christ, the main event, Corey Sandhagen versus Song Yadong. Are you fucking kidding me? How is this card free? They should have charged like $40 or $50 for it, man. Like, what the fuck? Like, come on, UFC. But I'm not mad about it. Please don't take that seriously, Dana White.
By $10 a month for ESPN.
Plus thank you for this.
Yeah, this is a good fight card.
Jesus
This is like
Christ.
one of those rare fight night cards that isn't shit.
Sandhagen, I want to see him pick apart Song Yadong. He's such a long gaming outside fighter.
Him have a fight.
Song Yadong does not give a fuck. He will be in front of Corey Sandhagen the whole time. I don't see this fight going the distance.
I just want to see a fight where
Thank God it's 5 rounds. Like, I think the longer it goes, the more the more Sandhagen's going to pull ahead.
I just don't want to see Sandhagen have another drawn out 5-round war where he takes a lot of damage.
Yeah, I don't want to see.
I'm getting vibes of Sandhagen needs a break in this one. You know, he needs to have a performance, like a big performance, to inject himself back into this title picture.
And that's what this fight could be, because Song Yadong's on a hot streak.
Yeah,
he's got his own great highlight reel. I think that Sandhagen is way more well rounded. I think that we'll see Sandhagen maybe focus a bit more on wrestling and cage work. Like
Sandhagen is in a tough spot because he got fucking destroyed by Aljo in like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And then he lost to TJ.
Yeah.
Who, those two guys, anytime you have both of those guys fighting for the title, it's kind of a no-win situation for you, because it's like they're not going to be apt to give you the rematch with either one of those guys. Yeah. So it's like you're going to probably fight at least one more fight after this. Maybe you fight the winner of O'Malley and Jan. Mm-hmm. That could be cool. Yeah.
But yeah, man, I see Sandhagen. I hope this is his best fight yet.
That would be
because
great.
That's what you have to do to beat Song Yadong. You have to have your best performance yet.
He needs that.
Song Yadong just fights like an absolute terror the whole damn time. Like he is a monster. Sandhagen, I think, is an accomplished fencing fighter. Like he can be. He needs to use fencing to get his wrestling into the wall. Get Song Yadong down and keep it a up-down fight, not a left-right fight.
That's where he gets his best shots.
That's
how he finished Edgar.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah.
All right. So
catch me at Rudino's.
A lot of stuff going on this weekend. We'll be at Rudino's. There are many Rudino's in the Raleigh area.
But I'll put out a post with the address. Fuck, I forgot. It's around the corner from here.
It's in North Raleigh. North Raleigh Rudino's. Not the Garner one and not the fucking Creedmoor Place one.
But no,
If you want to join us to watch the fights, we'll be there Saturday night.
Chris is a bartender.
Upstairs.
He's getting us hooked up outside. Yep.
But that's it for this episode of the 10-8 Fightcast. Until next time, guys, enjoy yourselves.